Okay, everyone, I'm here with my friend and former coworker, Melanie Rau, to discuss something that I think both of us are very, very excited to discuss, and that is Sabrina Carpenter's newest album, Emails I Can't Send. Melanie, how did you kind of get into Sabrina Carpenter? Like, did you listen to her before all the Olivia drama, which we'll get into, or like, how did you come to find her music?
I think 2017, I watched Girl Meets World for the first time, and then I kind of spiraled from there listening to, like, the music that she had out at that point, and I've just been following her ever since, and I think it was, like, 2 years later when High School Musical, the musical, the series came out, and then, of course, I was obsessed with Joshua and Olivia too, but, yeah, Sabrina was my first of the 3 that I loved.
So you were a Sabrina first person. This is good because I knew of Sabrina. Obviously, I also watched most of Girl Meets World. I haven't watched all of it, but I was like just breaking out of my Disney Channel phase when that show was airing. I was a little old to still be watching Disney Channel, but whatever. And was watching it as it aired live, I remember. So I watched most of it and knew her from there. And I listened to some of her stuff. Like, I really like the song Sue Me and then Exhale, like some of the more popular singly type ones. But this was her first album that I've listened to all the way through. This is her 5th studio album, and the singles were, I think this is the order they came out in. I didn't verify this, so if you know and I'm wrong, let me know. But the singles were Skinny Dipping, and then Fast Times, and then most recently Vicious. And Vicious just dropped like 2 weeks ago or something like that before this album came out. What were your overall general thoughts on this album, Melanie?
I knew I was going to like this album when I heard Skinny Dipping. I feel like that came out, like, last year. Listened to it on repeat since then. Um, Love that song. And then I think I texted you after I listened to Vicious for the first time, and I was, like, screaming about some of the lyrics. So I just knew I was gonna love this album. Um, I I just loved it.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll have to talk about Skinny Dipping a little bit because I remember that song came out and I was like, oh, it did come out like really close. Well, not super close, I guess, but it came out a lot closer to the drama, which we're gonna dive into, than the rest of this album obviously has. Like, I think it came out like mid last year, so it was like a couple months removed, but it's still fresh in everyone's mind. And I remember I'm not a fan of like talk singing. And
Mhm.
so like the verses of that song drive me insane, but we can talk more about it later. I love the album. I think the first half is really, really strong. I think it falls off a little bit in the second half, but still good all around. I had been listening actually earlier this week. She made a playlist that had like a bunch of inspo songs on it, and that playlist was really good. So that was kind of like the last thing that like pushed me over the edge of being excited for it. And then I had just seen clips of things on TikTok. Like, she posted a clip of the titular song Emails I Can't Send on TikTok a while back, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a good song, and then had to wait for the album to come out to hear it. But let's get into a little bit more breaking down favorite songs, favorite lyrics. I put a couple on here that I knew I definitively wanted to talk about with you because we've already kind of texted about them a little bit. But before we get to those very obvious ones, what were some of the lyrics or the songs that stood out to you that we hadn't heard prior to the album's release?
Okay, there's a few, let me find them. So there were a few things. I don't know if you wanna talk about this before we talk about the, like, Olivia Joshua drama, but there were a few lyrics that I kind of thought were very similar to Olivia lyrics, and not in a bad way. Like, I loved them. But some of it was giving, like, good for you, brutal vibes, and in a very, like, pointed, I wonder if they're both talking about Joshua kind of way.
Mhm.
Um, Let me see. I wrote down some examples. Let's see. Oh, and how many things Sabrina says, I still make excuses for you constantly. I defended you to all my friends. And favorite crime, I was like, I know it's like a very common thing for like after you date like a not so great person, of course you're gonna like defend them to your friends. I know that's common, so maybe they're not talking about the same thing, but there are just quite a few lyrical parallels that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I had someone say to me that they felt like it was sour, but if Olivia was in her Reputation era. And I was like, that's a pretty good description because it is a little more upfront than Olivia's album was in terms of lyrics, which obviously I don't want to get too much into comparing the two of them because
Yeah.
that does disservices to everyone. But it does feel like a little bit more of a like grown up, like it's clear she's a couple years older and can like it's more reflective on the relationships and the emotions and the trauma that she felt from it instead of reactive, which I feel like a lot of sour is. So I found that really interesting. I in Tornado Warnings, I love the line, I drive you home, you drive me crazy. Every time I hear it, I'm like, wow, great line. That whole song is really good as well. And like just the idea of like lying to my therapist because like you can't be honest with yourself and you want to keep this person and you know what your therapist is going to say, they're going to be like ditch them, whatever. Great premise to that song. And then in Decode, this is more of like I guess like a musical thing than just the lyrics, but right before she says the gaps in the silence, there's like a pause that makes it sound like your music has paused for a second, and then it comes in with the gaps in the silence, and I thought that was really smart. But okay, the three, or I guess four main lyrics from three songs that I want to talk about. This first one made me laugh the second I heard it. And at first I was like, oh God, I hate this because Sabrina's like very, I just kind of said this, but she's very literal in her lyrics. Like it's very like telling, not showing, I think, which isn't always a bad thing. But in How Many Things, the first line of the song, you used a fork once. It turns out forks are fucking everywhere. Like I cannot believe that we're starting a song this way. And I get it. Once I've sat with it, like now it just makes me like chuckle in the fact that like this is so corny, but it's so true because like when you're that attached to someone, it really is like anything that will trigger you. But what did you think when you heard that lyric for the first time?
I feel like I was just like kind of listening to this album a lot while I was working and I wasn't really digesting the lyrics. So last night when I was digesting the lyrics, I had to pause the song. I was like, what did she just say? Like there's no way that's real. I definitely get what she's saying. It's just so random. I get it, but
Also that it's the start of the song, like if
yeah.
it's buried in like verse 2, it might feel different, but and it's the way she sings it too. It's like you used a fork once and then there's like a pause, and I was like, is that all she's gonna say? And she's like, turns out forks are fucking everywhere, and I'm like, oh, I get what you're saying, but really weird metaphor. We could have used anything. Another one that really stuck out to me, I guess this is like a string of lyrics in Emails I Can't Send, the first song on the album, which we'll talk about once we get through these lyrics, who we think all these different songs are about. And obviously this is one of the outliers in that it's definitively not about Josh. But the lyrics are, there's no us and us when I'm lacking trust. You want to discuss, ugh, you disgust me. Especially that latter part, like the ugh, you disgust me after the disgust. Like the wordplay is so fun. And I really like that song a lot. Thoughts or lyrics or anything from that song that you want to touch on?
I'm just kind of shocked that she was brave enough to release that song. That song is so heartbreaking. Like I think I heard it on TikTok for the first time and I was like, okay, this is just a song she's gonna put on TikTok because she's upset. And then she put it on her album and I'm like, oh my God. Like
Mhm.
it's so good. I don't think I would be brave enough
No,
to
yeah.
put
I
out that
guess
song.
we can say right now is that I don't know if did she say this, because I know it's true, but like I didn't hear it from her. But the song is about her dad
I
cheating.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but like how did that come out? Do you know? Like, how did that come out? Did she say that anywhere? Because everyone is saying that's what this is. And it,
I don't think that she ever like posted about it besides the song.
okay.
So I guess like technically she could say that it was like a friend's experience or something,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I was wondering about that because like obviously like I follow her, but like not super closely. And I mean, there's the other lyric in this song that points to it being her dad is like, I don't think I'll forgive you as fast as mom can. And then the one at the end that's like, you were all I looked up to. Now I can't even look at you. So interesting. But I love that. And then the little Chicago tidbit.
oh my god, I literally wrote that down. I was like, as a musical theater kid, there's no way Emily didn't freak out.
Okay, well, at first, on my very first listen, I was like still digesting the song and it caught me a little off guard. And I was like, oh, that's like a random thing to say. And then on the second listen, I was like, oh my God, I'm a dumbass. That's literally like she had it coming, or he had it coming. He only had himself to blame. I was like, oh my God, it's literally the musical Chicago. She wasn't talking about the place Chicago. She was talking about the musical Chicago. Sometimes I just need a little extra brain time to process.
That's fair. There's a lot of little parts at the end of her songs where like she'll laugh or she'll say something, and I feel like I just love those little parts. I don't know, especially I can't remember what song it is, but she's like, the song isn't gonna make it in.
Nonsense.
She's like saying, yeah.
Which that song is pretty low on my ranking, but there are some really good parts, and the ending is really good because the last lyric is like, pop quiz, how fast can you take your clothes off? And then she's like, this isn't gonna make it. I'm like, well, it did, girlies.
Yeah, and that's another lyric I like screamed at. I was like, oh my god. She's not on Disney Channel anymore.
Nope, Disney Channel star grown up, all grown up. She is not little anymore. And the last particular lyric I wanted to talk about, and I think we could talk about this song for ages, which we will kind of a little bit as we get into the next part of this podcast. But in Because I Liked a Boy, there are two separate lyrics that I like full on like jaw dropped, paused the song, was immediately like writing them down. The first comes in the second verse, which like already you get the chorus and you're like, oh, I know what this is about. Like this is the clearest like call out ever. And then you get the second verse, which was only trying to hold you close while your heart was failing. That is a direct Joshua Bassett call out. Which we'll get into when we talk about this timeline. And then in the like final verse / like outro, and this was the one that really got me. She says, when everything went down, we'd already broken up. And I almost threw my phone across the room. Because when all of this was going down, I was so obsessed with this situation. But nothing was definitive. Everything was so vague. You like didn't know when Sabrina and Josh got together, when they did it, like when they broke up. And for this, like this puts a definitive pinpoint in like January 2021, Josh and Sabrina were not together and probably haven't been together since, which is just insane to think about.
Yeah, my big thought on this song is I wish that she would have released this song instead of Skin.
Yeah.
Like this song is so incredible, and this song is directly calling out all of the fans that were like obviously sending her death threats, like saying mean things, and like Skin was calling out Olivia.
Yeah, I wonder though if this song would be read differently if it had been released closer, because I think now, since the situation is so far done, a lot of people are like seeing this song, hearing this song and being like, oh, Sabrina was a victim too, and all this, like she was also victimized just in a different way. Whereas I wonder if people would be like less sympathetic and would have been like, oh, she's just trying to victimize herself, she's blaming Olivia for her getting called these things, if it had come out in that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. People are horrible, so I can't even predict
Yeah,
the things they would say.
People are probably still saying bad things for this album, but oh yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this song a little bit more and this timeline of events. Have I ever sent you my PowerPoint that I made, my Jolavina relationship?
No, I need that in my life.
Hold on, I'm gonna send it to you as I start talking here. But so basically, I went through and like pulled all the main dates that we had from their like relationship, and by dates from their relationship, I really mean that things people just guessed at. Actually, I'm gonna send this to you later because I need to pull it up. But okay, so February 2019, Josh and Olivia start filming HSMTMTS. That's a long time ago now. It really does not feel like that happened 3 years ago. Whatever. At that point, she's still dating her ex from fellow Bizarrevark fame, Ethan Wacker. But in April 2019, they broke up. July 2019, season 1 of HSMTMTS wraps filming, and Olivia gets her driver's permit, which we can talk about driver's license. We'll get to driver's license in a second. So like in that time, like somewhere between April and July, I think is when Josh and Olivia started dating. Do we feel like that's probably an accurate assessment?
Yeah, this is just an assumption, but I've always thought the song that she's talking about in Driver's License that he wrote about her is Anyone Else. And that gives the vibe that like she's dating somebody else and like he can't have her. And like Common Sense too. But like so I kind of felt like he had some feelings while she was with Ethan, and then he was like trying to jump in as soon as they broke up.
Yes, well, 100%. And I mean, they also wrote Just for a Moment, which is the song in HSMTMTS together.
Yeah.
And that song, like, I don't know, like teenagers can't just like make that stuff up, you know? Like, yeah. Like a scrap of their own emotion in there, I feel like. So I would agree that those two Josh songs are definitely about Olivia. So I think they were probably dating for closest to a year between 2019 and 2020. I mean, like she went to his sister's wedding. They were like spotted out all the time, or not spotted out, but spotted like doing things together. Couples Halloween costumes. They were John Lennon and Yoko Ono. I remember.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Which is crazy because then we'll get to the 2020 Halloween, which it really hit the fan. But so I think they were together for like a year and a half almost, because HSMTMTS season 2 starts filming in February, then gets shut down because of COVID. I don't remember when it restarted, but June 2020 is when Josh and Sabrina were spotted at that Black Lives Matter protest kissing, which we could talk about how that was probably the most inappropriate place to do that. But I remember seeing those pictures and being like, what? Because at that point, I mean, no one still knew like anything about Josh and Olivia's relationship officially. Like it was all just speculation. Everyone was riding high after season 1 of HSMTMTS.
I felt like there was a point though, like maybe April, May, somewhere like after the lockdown first started, when she was doing that thing where she would write a song every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes she would post it, but the song started to get sad.
Yes.
And I was like, what's happening?
Definitely some issues going on in late spring 2020. I mean, they weren't quarantining together, so they were definitely separated. July 2020, a month after, a couple weeks after the Josh and Sabrina sighting, is when Olivia posts the clip of Driver's License. And she had just gotten her driver's license that month, clearly. But in the original version of that song, and I will never forget this, she says brunette girl.
Yeah.
When the song comes out 6-7 months later, I was in my car 4 a.m. driving to Harold's, and I turned the song on because I was like, oh, I need to listen. Like, I'm so excited for this. And she said blonde girl, and I slammed off the brakes. I was like middle of downtown Columbia, like 4 a.m., no one around, hit the brakes, restarted the song. That's like 5 seconds into the song, too. Like, insane. We'll get to that though. So she posts the original clip. October, Josh and Sabrina do their Shark Boy and Lava Girl couples costume and post a bunch of TikToks about it. And it's just clear at this point that all shit has hit the fan. This was at the point too where like none of the HSMTMTS people seem to be interacting with him on Instagram. Like I remember looking a lot like, oh, who liked this? And like none of his castmates were liking anything he was posting. They were all over Olivia's stuff because she was still like getting ready to release things and was like promoting and being like, oh, whatever. I don't know if you remember this, but in December 2020, Josh and Sabrina both posted weird, like half naked pictures on their Instagram on the same day. Do you recall this?
No, it was the same day?
Yes, hold on. I'm gonna go find this because I remember sending it to my friends. And I was like, why are they doing this? Like, it's so obvious they just had sex and took pictures and posted them. It was, I hope they're still on their accounts. They're probably not, but it was so crazy. And I mean, at that point, how many songs did Josh have out at that point? He had Anyone Else, Common Sense. Was the one that she's in the music video for out at that point? Sabrina.
Yeah, that was Anyone Else, right?
Was it?
Yeah, because I thought she was in the music video of the song about Olivia, which was not it.
Oh, yeah, okay. December 3rd, 2020. Whoa. Does this not, like, he's got that bedhead going on.
Oh
He's
my
like,
god.
He's feeling himself, which I respect. But December 3rd, 2020. And Sabrina's was like the same thing. It was like shoulders up, sort of half naked picture. Oh no. Ugh, she deleted it. Damn it. It was like her in a sheet. And I was like,
Oh my god.
it was like Olivia is rolling. Like she's having the worst day of her life right now. Anyway, that happened in December. And then January 4th, I believe, of 2021, both Josh and Olivia announced the same day, which I still cannot decide if I think this was planned, if I think his team saw that Olivia was announcing and decided to announce his, but they both announced singles coming out in January on January 4th. And of course, for Olivia, it's her first single ever. So it's like really big news. Josh, it's like his fourth, but Driver's License and Lie, Lie, Lie. And we got both later that month, and our worlds have never been the same since. Do you have any thoughts or commentary on like this whole arc we've kind of watched these poor teenagers go through?
I feel like for a while I really thought that like, oh, like, you know, maybe it is PR, like maybe this isn't that serious. And then I heard Sour and I was like, no, this girl was hurt. Yeah. There is no way.
Yeah, there were definitely some PR moments. I mean, them both announcing singles on the same day felt really PR, which it could have been, and it could have been neither of their decisions, but that definitely felt very PR. It's interesting to look at like where we've come since then as well, like what else has happened. I mean, when did season 2 of HSMTMTS come out? That was like beginning of, no, that was like spring 2021, was it?
Yeah.
Or like summer, because they had the Christmas episode, but it wasn't Christmas and it felt really weird.
Yeah.
And in that episode is when there's the weird hand-holding moment between Josh and Olivia where they seemingly cannot hold hands properly, which just really ruined the whole vibe of Ricky and Nene for the rest of the season. And they really
was that filmed like because I know they filmed part of it before they got shut down, but like, when was the Christmas episode filmed?
I don't know. I'm assuming it might have been like reshot or something like that
Okay.
because that feels like it has to have been after they broke up.
Yeah.
It just I see no way that that was filmed that awkwardly when they were together. And in February 2020, I think they were definitively still together. So like
But things weren't, if Sour is about Josh, like things didn't seem to be going well before they broke
that's
up.
true. Yeah, which I mean, sour is about Josh. Whether we ever definitively find that out or not, that album is just so telling in so many ways. Yeah, I mean, definitely not going well. I will say, like, what like high school relationship ever goes well? Like, and especially too when like you're under the spotlight and you have one party's older than the other, and so you're both kind of really at different stages in your life, but you're like in a confined setting. Like recipe for disaster, in my opinion, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, Earlier this year, though, I mean, we got like the whole Josh was hospitalized, which this comes back to the because I liked the boy, because I liked a boy lyric, the while your heart was failing, because Josh went into septic shock, which was like the most insane thing to read probably ever. I mean, what did you like? What did you what went through your head when you read that profile? I think it was the GQ profile that it came out in.
I just felt so bad because it's not like I was like hating on Josh, but as a woman, I was kind of like Olivia and Sabrina, like I was kind of both,
Yeah,
and I was kind of like whatever about Josh, but I felt bad. Like I wish that, and I don't know, maybe her team was like telling her not to, but I wish Olivia would have like said like, please leave Josh and Sabrina alone.
yeah. I think that's the biggest thing I go back to now that we're like so removed from the situation is like all it would have taken, and of course this wouldn't have like cleared things up entirely, but like all it would have taken is her definitively, like Olivia definitively saying somewhere like, please stop like hating on like these people, because like it's okay to have your emotion and like want to express that and to like air out some dirty laundry. Like I think everyone needs to have dirty laundry aired out at some points, but like to just let that go on. And like I'm pretty sure in that article he also says that like she wasn't talking to him either, which like I get you probably don't want to talk to the boyfriend that broke up with you and broke your heart and stuff like that. But like the fact that she didn't even personally say sorry to him, be like, I'm sorry that this is happening, like what? Like,
Yeah.
just so bad. And now she's been in like 8 more relationships with older men that I
How
can't.
many Dear John moments does she need? Like,
Okay, wait. You say Dear John, and this Sabrina podcast is just turning into a gossip session on this whole love triangle. But what is your theory slash do you have a theory on why Olivia and Taylor Swift stopped talking? Because
yes.
I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah. First of all, it hurts me because I love both of them. Like the day that they met, that picture that Olivia posted, I was like, this is the best day of my life. I have a few thoughts. Number one, she is getting so heavily compared to Taylor Swift that it's probably people trying to put her in a box when in reality, like she's getting, and I feel like this is Sabrina too, like they are getting so much inspiration from so many different artists like Lord. Like I see a lot of like Selena Gomez and like Billy and Sabrina Carpenter too. And like they're all taking inspiration from all these different artists. And I feel like everyone was so heavily comparing Olivia to Taylor Swift that maybe she stopped, like especially when Red Taylor's version came out and she didn't post about it. Like she didn't post about All Too Well 10-minute version. I was like, something's wrong. Like this is the greatest song ever. Like something's wrong. And so I feel like it had part to do with that. I felt like there was some drama when she used part of New Year's Day when she sampled part of it in One Step Forward, Three Steps Back. I felt like there was some drama about like Taylor Swift and her team like getting credit.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like there was a lot of drama. I don't know. It just makes me sad, and it just makes me sad. But I feel like there's a lot of factors involved there.
Yeah, I would agree with both things you said, probably being factors and probably being the more likely things. My slightly off the wall theory, which I would love to come for us to find out is true one day, is I think right around the time Red Taylor's version was getting ready to come out was when Olivia was spotted with Zach Bia for the first time, who she's been spotted on and off with for close to a year now. I think like it was around this time last year that I think they were spotted at like a music festival or something together. And he's like 10 years, maybe not 10 years, but he's like 7 or 8 years older than her, some like music producer. I don't know who he is, but he's like relatively famous apparently. And I wonder if Taylor said something. This is so off the wall. If Taylor said something about being in a relationship with an older man, especially because it came around the Red Taylor's re-release, which Red is an entire album about Taylor being in a horrible, toxic relationship with an older man. I wonder if Taylor tried to play like big sister and was like, hey, I really think you should reconsider this, especially after you just got out of this other seemingly somewhat toxic relationship with a older man. Granted, Josh was only like 2 years older than her, but still. And then she was like, no, because she's 19 and why would you listen to someone when you're trying to have a relationship?
You know what? I wish that is true, because eventually she's going to see that like Taylor was right, and then maybe they'll be friends again.
Yeah.
Or like more publicly like interacting with each other.
Yeah, and we'll get an Olivia Rodrigo Red-esque album where we get like a 10-minute, I can't believe I've dated all these toxic men songs.
Oh my God, I hope so.
Bringing it back around to Sabrina.
Yes.
We diverted for long enough. I want to do a full album ranking, and we can talk a little bit more about each of the songs as we do this. And the way I'm going to do it is we'll start from the bottom. So like bottom of your ranking, we'll each say it. If one of us has the other person's song ranked higher, we'll wait to talk about it until we get to the higher ranking. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Bottom, you're not gonna like this for me. My number 13.
No.
My number 13 song is Skinny Dipping. It'll be a Wednesday. And like I like the idea, but the talking verses, we'll talk about it more when we get to yours. But what's your bottom song?
Mine is actually Fast Times.
Oh,
I like the song a lot. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
There are like some good lyrics and stuff like that I liked in it. I liked the music video, but that's probably the one that I like vibe with the least.
Yeah, we'll talk. We can talk about that one a little bit more because it did end up lower on my list than I would have thought, but it's obviously higher than last. What's your number 12?
It is, and this is difficult. I feel like there's kind of like a whole section that are in like my lower level that I had a hard time ranking, but it's Read Your Mind.
Oh, interesting. Okay, mine's much higher than this. My number 12 is Nonsense.
Ooh, that kind of hurts me, but that's okay. We're just hurting each other with it.
This is a completely different rankings here. Okay, number 11, I had Decode.
Okay, I had Bad for Business,
okay.
Which hurt because I really like that song.
Yes, and I have Bad for Business at 10. So let's talk about Bad for Business for a second.
Okay.
What did you like about this song?
There are just so many good lyrics in the song. This is the song I was talking about earlier where I kind of felt like there was a driver's license parallel in some of the lyrics. But that's also just, like I said, just like a typical teenage girl thing to feel like defending the guy who broke your heart.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the lyrics are so good in this. One that really hurt my feelings. If I'm just writing happy songs, will anybody sing along? I like paused and I was like, yes, write a happy song. I will sing along. Be happy. God damn it.
I really like the premise of the song, like, because I think it does kind of like bite at that notion in like most of culture that you have to be, and songwriting in particular, that you have to be writing about bad experiences for people to actually feel like they can relate to your song, but it's like, no, write something happy. Like someone will relate to it or it'll make people feel better. But like just the whole concept of like, this person's good for me, but it's like stunting. I think it also speaks to like feeling like creatively stunted when you're in a good place, which is definitely not a good way to feel. But I think a lot of creative people feel that way, is where they only feel creative. How many times can I say creative in a sentence? They only feel creative when they're in like a bad headspace and have like this like negative emotional stuff to feed off of. So I think it's like a good premise, and it's catchy, but it just wasn't quite up there for me.
Yeah.
What's your number 9?
I think we skipped my 10 because I think we had Decode and Bad for Business like switched, because my number 10 was Decode. My first thought, like when I first saw the track list, was Twilight. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I was like, give me Twilight. But the song is so sad.
I'm curious. So I wonder if, bringing up Olivia again, I wonder if this song is gonna have like a Hope You're Okay renaissance for me, because it's at the end of the album and I feel like I'm always checked out by the time I get to it. So like I couldn't tell you a single lyric from it. I like vaguely know what it's like about, but like and that was the same way I was with Hope You're Okay, is that I was listening to the album would always just be done by the time I got to that song. And now that song is probably like top 3 for me. Like I will bawl my eyes out to that song every single time I hear it.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if Decode will do that for me. But I'm curious, talk more about it, because I'd love to be turned earlier rather than later.
Yeah, I feel like it is similar to that song in the sense that like there's a couple lyrics that I wrote down. Learning from you that I can walk away to, and like being myself, did that emasculate you? Those are some strong lyrics for the last song. I don't think I fully could fathom them right away, but I do kind of feel like it's the same thought that like she's done trying to like overanalyze all these mixed signals that you're sending her. She just is very done. And I do think that that is a more peaceful way to end an album for sure. But some of the lyrics, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I'm excited to go back and look, and I'll probably try and sit with it more after this. And listen, what's your number 9?
Mine is Already Over.
Okay, mine's Fast Times. So let's talk about Fast Times for a second. You said that it's the one you vibe with the least. I would agree that after hearing the album in full, it's pretty close to the bottom for me in like terms of the album. But yeah, I really liked it as a single, and so I think that's why it kind of floats up for me. Is that I think it was the best. Well, no, I liked Vicious more, but I think it was a really good single off the album, where it was like, it was catchy enough to be a single and it exists really well on its own, but in the like grand scheme of the project, I would say it is one of the weaker tracks. So
I do still feel like it, like there are so many songs on this album that just have such great lyrics. I feel like she doesn't get enough credit for what a good songwriter she is, because I feel like in the past, at least the way I thought about her music is like, you know, I'm gonna have a dance party, like listening to Sabrina Carpenter. I don't feel like I was so focused on the lyrics, but I feel like this album, there are just such great lyrics. A couple I wrote down for Fast Times were all my mixed emotions are congregating, and ahead of myself's an understatement. Like, I love them.
that's a good one. I do like that lyric as well. My number 8 is Bet You Wanna.
So is mine.
Okay, perfect. We got one. We agreed on that. It's like a good song. It's kind of catchy. Like I think it's like the most like, I don't think dark's the right word, but it's very like, feels like lights out, only candles, dim lighting in a room type vibe, which I like. But it's just kind of there. Like nothing has super stuck out to me about it yet, but I know I like it.
This is a song that I was specifically like, this makes me feel like I'm listening to Billie Eilish. Like I'm sad, but somehow I'm also like bopping my head along to this music.
Yeah.
This is also one of the songs that she laughs in. And
very Taylor Swift of her.
That's exactly what I wrote. Very Taylor Swift. I think that she's a Taylor Swift fan. I
Mhm.
think she said that. So I
Yes,
love it.
I'm pretty sure. Who isn't? Who isn't at this point?
That's true.
No one. 7. What do you have?
How many things?
This is another one where I love the concept of this song, and I think personally I like really relate to the themes and like the idea of like the song of being like constantly reminded of something you're trying to forget and things like that. But outside of the fork lyric, it just feels like not as strong lyrically to me as some of the other songs. And it gets a little repetitive too, I feel like. But like thematically, I almost put this higher, like just because of the themes and like how much I feel like I appreciate the themes. But I was like, no, there's definitely better tracks on this album. But this was kind of, I mean, this is like halfway through, and this is kind of where I like got to like, oh, where do I order these? Because I kind of like all of these songs, but I just need to like pick and sort them.
Yeah, I unfortunately very much relate to the song. I feel like I have a hard time like ranking the more like upbeat and the sadder songs. I did the same thing with Sour. I was like, how the heck am I supposed to compare like Good for You to Enough for You? Like they're both masterpieces. I don't know what to tell you, but there was one part of the song that really stuck out to me. I think it's near the end of the song, when she says, "It hurt you so bad, hurting me. You really came to me for sympathy."
I immediately was like, oh, Joshua, like you did not do
It's like
that. It's the men victimizing themselves. Like, why do they do that?
I was I still don't have words. I've listened to this album for like how many days and I still don't have words.
Yeah. just just thinking about him like going to her, like I'm imagining like him like knocking on her door and being like, I'm sorry, I know we're broken up, I know I broke up with you, but I'm like, I'm really emotional, like I'm having a really hard time with all of this, can we just like hang out and like vibe? And I'm like, sir, how dare you? Obviously we don't know that that's what happened, but just
Yeah.
that lyric, like
Yeah, the audacity. I
yeah, the audacity is high, which something someone else texted me about this was like, they were like, I'm thinking about what Joshua Bassett could have done to make these girls write these songs about him. And I'm like, it's either that he was just like really, really good, so they were like extra heartbroken when it ended, or things were just really, really bad the entire time. And it's just,
yeah.
we probably won't ever know. But okay, getting into the top half here. What's your number 6?
This like hurts my feelings, but I have a reason. It's emails I can't send.
Ooh,
And
okay.
it's only because I felt like I heard the whole song before like I thought that it was just a clip on TikTok. I didn't realize it was the whole song, so I was fully expecting it to be longer. And so I was a little disappointed that that was it, but I love the song. I'm like, I can't believe she released this. This is so sad.
Yeah, it's higher on my list, but I definitely get the like wishing it was longer part. My number 6 was Already Over. Yeah, we can talk about it in a minute. But 5 for me was Vicious.
Okay. Mine was Nonsense.
Okay. Do we want
I
to
really
go ahead?
Okay, yeah. I just felt like Nonsense was while it wasn't like my favorite song lyrically, I felt like it was a bop. Like I kind of felt like it was giving Ariana Grande vibes. And some of the lyrics, again, I ranked some of these songs higher based on like how many times my jaw dropped. Like that line that you said earlier, how quickly can you take your clothes off? I was like, um, and just like I like the idea of it that like, when you're in love with somebody that like your head isn't working right and like your brain and your mouth aren't necessarily connected.
Yeah. So to refresh, this was number 12 on my list. And it's this it feels like it has like really high highs, which I've been using this phrase all the time, really high highs and really low lows. Because like you said, it's not the strongest lyrically, but like the couple times it is good lyrically, like that ending part, or like when she does the whole like so good I had to jump the octave, which at first I was like, that's really corny, but then it grew on me because it is so Ariana Grande like you said. But the first lyric I latched onto in this song, or like heard like as I was listening to it, was her doing this stupid like sounds like blee blah blee or whatever in the middle of the song, and I could not. I couldn't take it.
That's fair. I get it.
I was like, this is such a bop, but she literally just says like filler words in the middle of it. I'm like, I get what you're trying to express, but you didn't need to say blah blah blah. Like you could have just, it's that idea of like showing, not telling. And just by, I don't know, I guess you could make an argument that that's showing, but it feels too much like telling, like her being like, I can't talk about him, blah 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 blah. And I was like, no. So that's why it was so low for me. It is a fun song though, so when I can tune it out, then maybe I can have more fun with it.
That's fair. I forgot she did that.
It's really bad. It's really bad stuff.
I do feel like besides that part, the song really shows off her voice.
Yeah,
she has such a beautiful voice. I don't think she gets enough credit for how beautiful her voice is.
yeah, she's really talented for sure. And has a very, very wide vocal range. Okay, that was just 5 that we did?
Yeah.
Okay, what was your number 4?
It was, again, I'm hurt by my own rankings, but because I liked a boy.
Oh, okay, we'll talk about this later because it's my number 1. My number 4 was Tornado Warnings.
Mine too.
Okay, that was gonna be your number.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I love the song. I noticed that some of the songs, maybe like half on the album, are also like co-written by Julia Michaels and JP Sachs.
I've seen a TikTok about that before the album came out, that she had been like working with her to co-write stuff. But I'm glad you looked at that because I hadn't looked at the genius.
I feel like the vibe of Julia Michaels kind of came through in some of the songs. And some of the lyrics in the song just really hurt my feelings. Like, I was wondering if tornado warnings are supposed to be like red flags.
Yeah, I could see that.
And that's just so beautiful. Like, what a terrible, like, that's the best way. I feel like that's the best way to describe red flags, because it's worse. You're trying to describe like how horrible. What's worse than a tornado? Like, I just love that.
Well, like, I mean, a tornado is like one of those things that you like can't outrun. And like when you're in a relationship with someone that like you really like, you like can't, sometimes you still can't outrun the red flags no matter how much you like them. One of the lyrics that I really like in this song is when she says, I deserve an hour in the week to focus on my own thoughts, not be so obsessed with yours I can't hear myself speak. Because wow, is that true? When you get like so obsessed with someone, or like someone is taking up such a large portion of your mind that you have to like actively be like, get out, like I need to have my own thoughts, but like not even being able to do that while you're in therapy. Like,
yeah, I think I wrote down the next part of that. Sometimes I wish I kept some of my feelings in the basement so I could still have some left. Oh my god.
Yeah, well, and then just like the pre-chorus too, which is the don't understand how quickly we get right back in our rhythm without missing a step, and logically the last thing I should have on my mind, but I want you there sometimes. Like, just great all around. Okay, so that was my 4, your 3. My 3 was Read Your Mind. I think this should have been a single. I think you could have flopped this in Fast Time potentially, because I think it kind of occupies the same space as Fast Time in being that like upbeat, very radio like hit, but it's better than Fast Times, which I guess like I don't know, some people make an argument like you release the weaker songs on an album, but we're living in like such a viral moment in time where like you have to have everything to go viral. Like feels like it would have made more sense to release like a super super good song that could have brought it back. Though I know you have this lower on your list, so tell me why it was low, and remind me what place it was in again.
Let's see. I had it at 12. Maybe I just like haven't had enough time to sit with the song because I did feel like it was a bop. I felt like I wrote down the line, "You're not my friend and baby, you never were." Iconic. Like go off. I love that. So maybe I just need more time with it. Maybe it just didn't like catch my attention right away.
Yeah, it's very Bobby. Okay, number 2. What did you have?
I had Vicious.
Okay,
I just I can never forget the way the song made me feel the first time I heard it.
it is really good, and I'm very glad you texted me about it that day because I definitely was not on my radar that she was like dropping another song, and you were like, "Have you listened to this yet?" And I was like, "No," but it is really good. Like I had it at 5, but I mean my top 5 are all interchangeable pretty much. Like they could all move around, and I think yeah, it's just good. And this really feels like the song that like emphasizes that her and Olivia probably had really similar relationship experiences.
Yeah.
And makes you kind of feel empathetic towards both of them instead of just like relating to Olivia or whatever. Like I think this balances the scales between them a little bit. I don't know. You had it higher, so did you have anything else
I
or anything?
I feel like I really love the song right away, but something I was just like thinking about for the first time is when she says, "Now you're kind of acting like I died." That just reminds me of Good For You. Like the part where she's like, "Now it's like we never even happened." Like this man needs to learn how to deal with his
And
problems.
so quickly. Also, like, stop dating women who can write these scathing reviews of you and set them to really catchy music.
Yeah. I feel like I saw a TikTok last night that was like, "Can Joshua Bassett date anyone that writes a bad song?"
So literally just find one woman who's not a musician, and maybe you'll turn out okay. Ugh. Yeah, good one. Okay. My 2 is Emails I Can't Send.
Okay.
I memorized this song within like 2 times listening to it because it is so short.
Yeah.
And I just like, I think a lot of this one is like the musicality for me. Because I think it is the most unique musically from like the rest of the album. And like even within the song kind of like changes, like not like completely changes genres, but it just feels so different to me, and it feels like very refreshing even though it's so sad. And then you get the little like piano kind of riff at the end that I love right into that, as they say in Chicago thing. And it just feels so like lovely to me. I mean, like we already talked about the like there's no us and us part, which I think is just such a good like lyric and like tempo combination. So this one is high on my list, but I do agree with what you said earlier of I wish it was longer.
But she also like said everything she needed to say, so I get it. But
Like, who likes to send a long email? I mean, this is the one that's called Emails I Can't Send, which does Anne not have a phone? Like, can she not text him this? I respect it if she wants to tell him off over email rather than via text. But what was your number 2?
I think I already said mine was Vicious.
Oh, that's right. Duh. I keep on getting confused which order. What was your number 1 then?
You're gonna hate this.
Oh god, it's skinny dipping.
I just
Opposite ends of the scale.
I just think I don't mind the talking parts, and I also just think that like this is the perfect song to just like sit and think about situations that will never happen to you. Just like sit there, romanticize your life. The song also reminds me of Doppelganger by Joshua Bassett. So I love that part of it. And the Wednesday in a cafe, it's giving Begin Again.
That is true.
I adore this song. I stop hating on skinny dipping, please.
I just, there's some of the way, like, the speak talking and the way she says oat milk latte, like, itches my brain, but not in like a good sense. She says it and I'm like, why am I listening to this song? I do think if there's one part of the song that I do really like, it is the pre-chorus, like the arguments in your garage.
Yeah.
Is we sabotaged it. One thing I've been thinking about this song, though the most recent time I listened to it, I kind of changed my mind. I wonder if this one isn't about Josh and it's about Griffin Gluck instead, because it feels like it's looking back even further. Like, did Josh and Sabrina have a long enough relationship for them to like be this nostalgic about it? You know, like,
that's a good point, because I feel like when I first started following Sabrina, she was dating that kid from Good Luck Charlie, Bradley Stephen Perry, I think that's his name.
Dated him? I didn't.
Yeah, and I was like obsessed with their relationship. So that's a good point.
I knew I knew of her relationship with Griffin Gluck, who was he's been in some really random like one-off stuff. He was in that weird fake documentary show that Netflix did about the kid. Do you know what I'm talking? Hold on, I'm gonna look up his IMDb page. Oh, he's in fucking Tall Girl, which I haven't seen, but he is in that movie if you've seen it. He's in Big Time Adolescence with Pete Davidson. What was this TV show called? Oh my God, my washer decided to go off. If you can hear that beeping, that's what that is. Where is it? He's not like super famous. Oh, he was in Red Band Society, if you've ever seen that.
Okay. How long ago did they date?
A decent amount of time, I think, multiple years. And they broke up, I think, beginning of 2020. So like a couple months before Josh and Sabrina would have started talking. So like, yeah, but I wonder like potentially, just because it does feel like very retrospective. Then again, maybe Josh and Sabrina really had a crazy whirlwind 6 months and they would feel like this going in. I don't know. Anyway,
maybe it's a mix of both.
My number one, Because I Liked a Boy. I have been screaming this song every time I get in my car, anytime I get up to do anything and I'm like, I'm gonna put on music for a second, I am putting on this song. We already talked about like the two like major like Josh lyrics and stuff, but like second line of the song is you showed up with a boombox and stars in your eyes. Beautiful, so romantic. Yes. Painting a picture. It was giving Conrad and Belly in the Summer I Turned Pretty book. I'm a hot topic on your tongue, which do you think? I read that in 3 different ways, in that she's a hot topic on his tongue, because if he says anything about her, he could get in trouble now. Not like trouble, but like it would cause a big uproar. On Olivia's tongue, because they have beef, or like on the fans' tongue, like because we like talking about her so much. What did you read it as?
My first thought was the fans, I think, because everybody was talking about them for months and months.
And I mean, like, that's like what the chorus is like definitely about, is like talking to the fans and like addressing fan stuff. Verse 2, season 2. I've been watching a lot of TV recently. Verse 2, before we get to the was only trying to hold you close, is I'm not catastrophizing, everything's derailing. Whenever people use big words like those in songs, I'm like, how do you, like, that's crazy to just fit big words in songs like that. And I just love this song, and I think it will. I hope actually, because I feel like it would have really blown up by now, and it hasn't. But I hope it blows up and like kind of gets cemented in this kind of sphere of drama that has solidified around Josh and Olivia and Sabrina. But
Yeah, I like that. Like, this is the song that she is like putting on merch. Like, I've seen merch that's like "I'm a home wrecker," and that's just iconic. I love that.
I now that you say that, I might go buy one of those shirts. Even
Okay,
though
last week,
no,
last week she released like $15 signed CDs. Bought one immediately. Can't
wow,
wait.
smart. I love that. Okay, that's the album ranking. I did throw in 2 fun superlatives that we can close the episode on. The first being, what's a random object that has reminded you of something or someone, a la a fork, in how many ways or how many things? I will say I'll expand this to like, could also be like a location, because the first things I thought of were more locations than physical objects.
Okay. Yeah, I felt like this is tough because like nothing is as random as a fork.
I really wanted to think of something as random as a fork, but I couldn't. Um, Mine, and these will really only potentially make sense to fellow people who lived in Colombia. My 2 are the Andes that's across from the Hy-Vee on that's off of Stadium and Nifong. That's back like just kind of weird. I only went to that one like twice. One of them was someone that I wish I could forget. And then the other is also in Columbia, complete like opposite side of town. It's over by the Walmart that's off Broadway. And in like one of the neighborhoods back there, there's like this random like pond. It's like a neighborhood built around like a man-made pond. Never would have found this place, never would have thought to drive through these neighborhoods if someone hadn't driven me through them. And now whenever I like drive over that way, I'm like, I should go see that pond. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't. Go somewhere else. So those are mine.
The first thing I thought of was like beanies because I was like, as a young kid that's like trying to learn how to flirt, I would always like steal my crush's like beanies or whatever. But now that you say that, there's like a pond in my neighborhood that we used to go to and like sit on one of the park benches. And every time I drive past, I think of that.
Yeah.
So again, not as random as a fork, but
Yeah.
it's the best I can do.
A fork is truly so random. I cannot imagine being that attached to someone or having someone have that be that deeply inside your mind that every time you're picking up a fork, you're thinking of them. Like that's outrageous. Okay, the other superlative, my washer will not shut up. The other superlative, what would the subject line be on an email that you can't send?
Mine would probably be like why with like a million question marks, and that could go for like so many things, like why are you doing this, why are you the way that you are?
I feel like my gut reaction would be an email I can't send is probably not getting a subject line, like because then someone's more inclined to open it. They don't know what it's about. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, I'll open this, and then it's just me like fucking chewing them out for like an entire thing. I would go with like a why is a good one, like a what the fuck like type line, or like WTF. Alternatively, kind of like in the same vein of leaving it blank, hitting them with like a faux spammy or like a blackmaily type one. Like I don't know what that like, it would depend on who I was trying to blackmail, I guess. Like something like that, I think. Just something to make sure that they open it. Because that's the thing, is with email, you don't know. So even if it did get sent, you wouldn't know if they opened it or not unless they said something. So
one thing I was just thinking about, this whole like emails I can't send concept really is reminding me of To All the Boys I've Loved Before and her letters that she doesn't want to send.
that's a good point.
I just love this album even more now.
God, now I'm thinking about like other, like I feel like musicians probably use email a lot to send like tracks and stuff back and forth. And we know there's an unreleased Josh and Sabrina duet out there that we have never heard. Well, we've heard it because it's leaked on the internet, but like we've never heard the official version of. So like I wonder too if it's like partially like she would have sent a lot of some of these songs to him, and she can't, though the emails I can't send is about her dad, so then it gets a little murky, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think like the basic concept that she's like afraid, especially with like because I liked a boy, she's like afraid to like stand up for herself because she's afraid she's gonna get even more backlash.
Yeah.
So that concept too, but or like just adding more fuel to the fire of this mess.
Yeah, giving a digital trail and stuff like that, and leaving dirty footprints.
I wish she would go on tour. I would go. I would give it the same energy I give Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah. The Olivia concert. Great time. Great time. We could talk about that forever. Yeah. I tried to get tickets to Josh because he's doing like a limited run, like East Coast tour, but it was the week I was moving up here. So I was driving when tickets went on sale, and I had gotten a pre-sale code. So I was driving when pre-sale happened. And I was like, oh, well, surely the pre-sale won't sell out the concert. And it somehow fucking did, because when I got to my hotel later, like it wouldn't let me buy tickets. And then he added another date in New York, and I didn't realize until after that had sold out. So I keep on checking to see if maybe, but he doesn't have that much to tour with right now. Like he needs to put some music out there.
Yeah. I agree. But I love all of them. I love all of their music. I wish this drama wouldn't have happened. I think my dream is for like 10 years down the future for Sabrina and Olivia to just like become friends and come out with a song together. When I saw them talking at the Met, I thought my heart was gonna stop beating.
I want to tell all. I want like some like reunions tell all special thing like 10 years from now. I want Olivia to forgive Josh and to apologize. Like I want there to be a conversation about him going to the hospital.
Yes.
I want him to apologize to both of them. I want to hear from all the HSMTMTS cast members like what the drama was, like what they knew about Josh and Sabrina, and like why they chose Olivia's side there for a while, but then seemingly switched back to liking both of them. I don't know.
That's going to be an interesting season of High School Musical this year. But she's
good.
going to be in for like 2 minutes. But
yeah, I don't think it's going to be good. I have low expectations.
Yeah, so do I.
I'll be wrong, but